Hey y'all, hey. So listen, I wanted to talk about something that occurred to me today. I know the reason why black people don't like to address their mental health. We don't like to take care of our health because it has our mental health because it has been ingrained in us to live by the idea of what happens in this house stays in this house. And I'm gonna tell you what I just discovered about what it means to get therapy. So I am a mental health advocate. I've been advocating for people to have better mental health for a really long time. It stemmed off of the back of the fact that I have a really rough relationship with my not rough relationship, but I personally have had a really long struggle and a battle with my own mental health, right? And so I promised myself that I wasn't going to do that anymore. I was going to dedicate everything and anything I had in me to getting my mental health better and to helping other people advocate for themselves, advocate for their mental health to get better. Because me having this very toxic upbringing with mental health, and then also it being attached to Christianity almost cost me my life. So as a result of that, I've been since 2020 dedicating my whole life to bringing awareness to mental health, talking about it, because when you talk about something, you normalize it, and when you normalize something, you can get rid of stigmas, and getting rid of stigmas is going to save lives, right? So going back to my childhood, I started having issues with depression when I was 16 years old. And I didn't know then. I didn't have language that, oh, I'm having problems with my depression, or I didn't even know what depression was, or, having suicidal feelings. I didn't know that suicidal feelings was what I was feeling. I just knew that I didn't feel well, and I didn't know what to do with that. And so I would talk to my mom and talk to other black, people in my village and my community and say, these are what I'm feeling. And I would be shamed for my feelings. Oh, no, we don't claim that. That not saying we don't claim something goes synonymous with anything in the black community that we just want to wish away. Um, we don't claim that. Oh no, this is not my feelings. This is the most ignorant shit, but I've been told it all my life, so I'm going to repeat it here. I've been told that mental health is black people don't have problems with our mental health. That's white people stuff. We don't have that. That's them white people stuff. We don't have problems with that. Or when I would sit there and I would deal with the mental health stuff and deal with the mental health stuff, and it would just keep getting worse, and it would keep getting worse, and it wouldn't get better. And then I would bring it up to my mom again, or to whomever I spoke to about it again. Then it would be usually my mom would tell me, oh, don't worry about it, on Sunday I'm gonna take you down and let pastor pray over you. I never understood that once pastor prayed over me, I would end up feeling worse. And let me explain why. Not feeling worse because the pastor prayed over me, and that in and of itself made it feel worse. What made me feel worse was that I would put all my hopes and dreams and wants and everything into the pastor's going to pray for me on Sunday, and then I'm going to feel better. And when I didn't, then it felt hopeless. And so from 16 up until I was 27, when I finally got actual real medical treatment for my mental health and got a diagnosis and got a treatment plan and started to feel better. From 16 to 27, I just dealt with different mental health battles. I had postpartum depression with my first son that I had at 18. I tried to tell people, I won't say I tried to. I did a little bit, but I wasn't honest with people because I was feeling very detached from my son. I didn't feel like connected to him. I didn't feel anything, and I didn't understand why. And because of shame, I didn't say to anybody like I never said to anybody, I don't feel connected to this baby. But that was the truth. Instead, what I just said was like, if I'm tired or I'm sad or, whatever. And then eventually, I did have a friend, my friend at the time, her mom was a registered nurse, and her mom was able to identify, you need to mention this to your doctor when you're right, like call him right now and let him know what you're feeling. And so I did tell my OBGYN, like, I'm feeling these feelings. He was able to say, you might have a little bit of, he didn't call it postpartum depression. He called it baby blues. Oh, baby blues is perfectly normal. A lot of first-time mothers go through, a lot of mothers in general go through baby blues. It's very normal. Just keep an eye on it and let me know. And then even with that, it was just kind of like, well, he said it was normal and it'll go away over time. And eventually it did. Like by the time my son was, I'd say maybe 3 or 4 months old, those feelings did kind of normalize. But I didn't know then that I was in a very tough place, when it comes to that. And so anyways, I just kind of went from age of 16 until 27 just dealing with different mental health issues and dealing with it on my own, because I didn't know that there was a way that you could get better and feel better. And anytime that I tried to talk to anybody about it, like I said, I was always shamed, and I was always told shit like, well, you have to choose to be happy. You don't see me running around here depressed. I got the same stuff going on as you, or I got more stuff going on as you. Or here's another famous one. It's people in the world that got it worse than you, and you're complaining. And it just was like, I learned then that if I'm already in a space where I'm not feeling well, what good is it going to do me to then turn around and talk about the shit I'm feeling when I'm going to be made to feel worse by the people that I tell, just depending on their outcome, right? Or what they say. And so I stopped telling people, and I just kind of dealt with it and suffered with it for as long as I possibly could. That being said, when I was 27 years old and pregnant with my third son, I was so depressed I was suicidal. And I didn't attempt suicide, but I did have a plan in my mind that I was going to do these things that was going to end this hurt for me. And it wasn't until, because my son this particular day, I was 7 months pregnant. He never moved or anything the whole entire day. And it was almost like I was in such a dark place that I forgot for this moment that ending my hurt is not ending my hurt. It's also ending my child's life. And when I was literally at the store to buy the medication, I was going to take Benadryl. When I was in the store to buy Benadryl to go, and I was going to get a hotel and just end it, my baby started kicking like crazy, and it snapped me out of that psychosis, or this, I wouldn't even call it, I wasn't in a psychosis, I was in a dark space. It snapped me out of that dark space to remember you're carrying a life that's dependent on you. And thank God, I then turned around. I didn't ask anybody else for help. I didn't go to any more of, these bootleg family psychiatrist that was giving me the worst fucking advice of life. I actually sought mental health treatment, and I was able to get out of that mental health battle. I was able just to kind of get an understanding of what you're feeling is not normal. It is a mental health crisis. You need treatment. I can help you feel better. Here is how we do that. Let's make a plan. And they did. She made a plan for me. Dr. Zapoli was her name. She made a plan for me, and I did feel better. She saved my life. She saved my child's life. God did, but with the aid of her. And so, that being said, I started to become more and more aware and learn more and do the things to know more about what it actually means to deal with your mental health. Now, I say all this to say, going back to the epiphany that I had today. Today, I was watching a podcast, right? It was this podcast I was listening to. I wasn't even really watching it. I was watching Malcolm X. Went to bed. Me and my husband went to bed watching Malcolm X. And then at some point in time, it was on YouTube. Malcolm X is free on YouTube. Y'all better go watch that movie. I know most of us have seen it before. It is so powerful. As many times as I've seen it. It's been some years since I've seen it, and it just is like, anyway, went to bed watching Malcolm X, woke up and this podcast was on. This, how YouTube just picks some random stuff. And the podcast, Funky Diney, but that's my boo. He was talking about, on this podcast, this particular episode, about how in the Black community we have a sin hierarchy, right? That was my words. That wasn't the word to use, but I write articles about it, and I've written an article about this sin hierarchy before I made Facebook posts and stuff, because it is the most infuriating fucking way of thinking in the Black community that just blows my mind. We have what I call a sin hierarchy, meaning certain sins are worse than others. Not my words. The Black community as a collective, especially when we're talking in Christianity spaces. You can be a lot of things. You could be a thief. You could be a robber. You could be a drug dealer. You can be, you can be all the things. You could be a booster. You could be anything. You could be a killer. You could be a person that harms children. But what you can't be and think you're going to be forgiven is you can't be gay. Being gay is the one sin that is at the top of the sin hierarchy, right? And so Funky Dineva is a gay man, and he was talking about how, just his own experiences with this way of thinking. And it triggered me right away, because I'm like, I've been saying this. Black people in this freaking sin hierarchy is freaking crazy. And so he went to talking about just about that. And then he segued into, you can even be, a person who harms children or is inappropriate with children, and even that is less serious than being gay. Sorry, I told you they doing my pipes. Even that is less serious than being gay. And so it just got me to thinking, I don't know what clicked in my head to understand that there is so much truth in that, and that truth goes to, here's my theory on it. The reason that being gay, I think, is the highest of sin within the sin hierarchy is because being gay, for the most, and I'll give you an example of what I mean, but being gay is the one thing that, under that umbrella of, being gay is the one thing that falls under the umbrella of what happens in this house stays in this house, that we really can't keep in the house. We can keep a lot of secrets in the house. Being gay isn't one of them. Now, I used in an article that I wrote before, the example of, let's say you have an uncle, Uncle Paul. These characters I'm getting ready to speak about are going to be fictional characters. I'm just throwing names out there. I'm just using just random names. First name that came to mind was Paul. Uncle Paul, right? So let's say Uncle Paul is known in our family system as being a person who harms children. He's not safe for kids to be around. Everyone is aware that he has a history. He's harmed multiple children in the family and children outside of the family. We're aware that Uncle Paul is a problem. Uncle Paul is not in prison because we just feel like, and here's another one of the black tropes that drives me crazy. Oh, well, you know how your uncle is. That's just your uncle. That's just your uncle. You know how your uncle is, like almost to excuse away his behavior by making it part of his character. That's just how he is. That's just how your uncle is, you know? So we excuse Uncle Paul's behavior away and we just chalk it up to that's just how he is. Maybe if anything was done with regards to Uncle Paul, nobody turned him in. Nobody talked to the police. Nobody did anything to protect the kids. The most you could have gotten out of Uncle Paul with regards to discipline to his behavior in the family system is maybe Uncle Paul might have got a manhandled by a couple of the male cousins or uncles or something like that. But for the most part, that's as much punishment as Uncle Paul has ever faced for his behavior towards children. That was it, right? And so you can do that and be forgiven, right? But then you got Cousin Andre. And let's say Cousin Andre, he's a flamboyantly gay man, right? Cousin Andre, now, we'll sit up there and be like, well, that's just how Uncle Paul is. But Cousin Andre, with his gay ass, and he always got some eyelashes and shit on, we have a problem with Cousin Andre over Uncle Paul because Cousin Andre threatens that what happens in this house stays in this house. We can't keep in the house the fact that Cousin Andre is gay because Cousin Andre is outside living his best life, living in his truth, and he refuses to be like quieted down and hushed up because that's what y'all think. If that's what y'all think, then that's what y'all think. Good for y'all. But I'm gonna do me and I'm gonna be me. And cousin Andre just lives out loud. So because Cousin Andre wants to keep on living out loud and coming to, you know, the family reunions with, and just to make this very clear, I am a very high-ranking, supporting member of the community. I have someone, I'm not going to tell their story because that's their story to tell when they're ready to tell their story, but I am very much attached to somebody in the LGBTQ community who means everything to me, and I support them. I am with them. I am them. That is my, you know, that is my love. That is my boo. And so I have no, this is not specific to me in the community. Oh, I don't look at myself as like an ally. I'm not an ally. I am here. I will do anything I can to protect my loved ones and any other person, like their rights. Like, you know, so I'm just saying all that to say because I don't want this to come off like anything other than, because it's not that. Trust me, child, close my computer. It's not that. It's not that. Okay. It's not that. It's never given that. But anyway, so, you know, it'll be, oh, cousin Andre keep bringing his gas over here, this, and this. And so because Cousin Andre won't live quiet, he comes to the family reunion living his best life. He'll come to the family reunion with his eyelashes done or whatever the case may be. We can't keep what's happening in this house because you're putting it outside. We can keep the fact that because Uncle Paul is a whole, you know, Chester. We can hide that because everybody keeps that secret just fine. But we can't hide the things that people won't. And good for Cousin Andre, who is living out loud and who's doing himself. And if you have to go out, I'm not gonna get on because I'll segue. I'm about to say you have to go out there and if you have to go out there and find your own village that you create because the village you were born into ain't shit because they don't want you to, you know, be you, then you do that. I'm in support of that. But that's not what this video is about. This video was about what I understood about mental health and what it means to Black people to treat the mental health. We don't want to treat our mental health because we understand that doing so is going to bring up shit. We understand that doing so is going to bring up family secrets that the family does not want out. What do I mean by that? So let's say Uncle Paul, right? Uncle Paul, let's say he's harmed 11 family children, right? One of those family children decides to finally speak about it in therapy, not even understanding that all the reasons they're even in therapy is because of the trauma they faced as a child, and now because they're in therapy, they're facing it. The therapist is connecting different, you know, experiences and different feelings to this childhood experience of them being, you know, harmed by this uncle. So they bring it up. And then in doing so, we start thinking about all the other things that was associated with this particular situation with this family member, right? So then we start to say, my uncle harmed me, and I'm going to talk about this. So when we start talking about it with other family members, now you've now dredged up the past, which is what people, I'm not going to just say black people, because here's the thing too. Let me say this. I keep referring to black people because one thing I do is I only talk about what I know. I don't know other communities and how they handle business, but I can tell you how black people handle business, and we don't handle it good. So in the black community, we are notorious for trying to brush things under the rug by saying it's in the past. I've moved past that. You've moved past that because it wasn't you who was harmed, right? But we're good for saying we've moved past it. We haven't moved past it. It was brushed under the rug, and everyone no one talks about it. No one brings it up. God forbid you take it outside of the family. Like, you definitely don't do that, but we don't even talk about it in the family, right? Now, this victim of Uncle Paul's has started to go to therapy. And in therapy, they learned that what you went through wasn't normal. What you went through is the reason why you're going through all the things that you're going through. And what you went through was actually criminal. And then you started being like, but wait a minute. So Uncle Paul, yeah. So you go and you confront Uncle Paul. The rumors makes its way through the family. Oh, such and such, Uncle Paul, she said Uncle Paul had touched her and this, and this, and this. Next thing you know, the second victim of Uncle Paul's want to speak out now. Now the third, now the fifth, now the ninth, now the 11th. Now all the victims are talking about what the hell Uncle Paul did, and the family is in a ruckus. Uncle Paul, is presumably no longer doing that. He's in the church now, or he's doing better now, or he's got a family now, and we don't want to bring up what Uncle Paul did because that disrupts the calm that we have in the family. The family was already in disruption when Uncle Paul was used to drugs, and when his sister was this and this, and now he's doing good, and here you come bringing up stuff that's in the past. And not only did you ruffle feathers by bringing up your trauma from the past, but you done brought others with you doing this Me Too thing. And now the whole family is in shambles because you brought it up. That is the reason why black people, have a problem with therapy, because they are afraid of what one person getting their mental health together is going to mean for everybody. If I go to therapy and I start talking about something that I may have suppressed just in your brain's way of protecting you, now I bring it up, and it is now a nightmare. It's a family PR nightmare, because now we can't keep what happened in the house. And then I'll go you one better. Not only is Uncle Paul now doing better, Uncle Paul's not using drugs anymore. Uncle Paul been working for the city for the past 30 years. Uncle Paul's got a beautiful family. Uncle Paul is forgiven by everybody except for his victims. And so everybody who's already gotten over what Uncle Paul did, they want you to forget too, but you won't. And then on top of that, you are now indicting other people. Because then you got to thinking about this. When I was young, this didn't happen to me, by the way. I'm just giving examples. When I was young, and I was at Big Mama's house, Uncle Paul, your brother, lived there. And I kept telling you, Big Mama, when you go play bingo and you leave me with Uncle Paul, he does stuff to me. Stop leaving me with Uncle Paul. Please take me with you, or please don't leave me here by myself with him. And Big Mama blew it off, because Uncle Paul, when she asked him, he said he didn't do it. And because of that, you got harmed multiple times because of Big Mama's neglect. So now you have to do the one thing, the one sin that's even bigger than being gay within the freaking Christian sin hierarchy. You got to indict Big Mama. And we never talk bad about the women, the mothers in the family.